Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of the Crypto Hipsters Curtain Calls. These curtain call episodes are compilation episodes of 4 or more or less interviews that I've had over the past 3 seasons, seasons 6, 7, and 8. I'm currently bringing you season 9 in my live podcast, but these compilation episodes are from 6, 7, and 8. The first 3 seasons were the Crypto Hipsters Chronicles, and I brought you books from those episodes, from those compilations. And then seasons 4 and 5 were Crypto Hipsters Mysticals. I also brought you 22 books from that season, those 2 seasons. So, episode 3, what is it all about? It is basically, we talk about Bitcoin. Everybody's favorite topic in digital assets is Bitcoin. So, what is Bitcoin? Is Bitcoin a beauty or is Bitcoin a beast? This episode focuses on why Bitcoin and all its features, including the technology features, the social features, the community features, the wealth features, all the features will stand the test of time. Some people think that quantum computing will kill Bitcoin someday, but the jury is still out on that. And for the time being, I view Bitcoin as kind of like those heads on Easter Island. Nobody knew where it came from. Nobody attributed to who built them. They're there. And despite all the weather, despite all the tsunamis, despite everything through time, those statues are still standing. And Bitcoin shall be standing too, along with hopefully other digital assets. People think it's the only one. It's not the only one that has tremendous use cases and will stand. So I have 4 interviews with people who compilation clips from interviews with people who believe that it will also stand. First person clip is from Agne Linge. She is the head of growth at WeFi. Spoke to her in season 8 in June 2025, not too long ago, and we talked about why Bitcoin is unbreakable during Black Swan events. The second interview from season 7. This came from March 2024, was about pioneering payments using Bitcoin, and my conversation was with Mark Hojgaard with Coinify. The third clip from this compilation is Sung Choi. Sung Choi is a senior VP of business development at CoinMe, and we talked about how we can make Bitcoin transactions safe, simple, and accessible to everybody, not just a select few. And then the fourth podcast clip was one of my favorites, conversation with Vlad Costea. Vlad is known as the founder of the Bitcoin Takeover podcast. We talked all about people's favorite conversation when it comes to Bitcoin, all about Bitcoin maximalism. Some people see that as a negative, some people will see it as a positive. There are very beautiful traits of being a Bitcoin maximalist, and we dive into that in the podcast. We spoke in March 2024. So if anybody wants to listen to these podcasts, have a listen to the complete episode. Check out the clip that's in this video. Have a look and listen to the episode. All of my episodes are on Spotify. The video is on Spotify from season 8 going forward. And I hope you enjoy this episode. Let's catch up at the end.
I think that this year is very interesting for crypto, and it started this way. It started with the inauguration of Donald Trump, of United States President Donald Trump, and it is very clear that his and his cabinet's, his crew actions will have an immense impact on crypto landscape. It already has. So everybody is awaiting clarity from the crypto working groups that they have been set up, and as much as regulation and some suggestions for stablecoin regulation. Then there are other parts that is not related to crypto, but there are Trump's tariffs, which add to economic uncertainty. And this economic uncertainty, such as even 50% tariffs in Europe that has been announced recently, now delayed negotiations, but still everything is really having an effect to the way investors are balancing their portfolio, to the way they're looking at the risk assets, to everything really. And so what other events? Of course, we have to look at the war that is happening. The war is happening nearly in Europe, you can say. Europe has been very affected, and other countries also has been affected. So we don't know what kind of an event can cause completely unexpected consequences. And all of this is interconnected. Crypto, risky assets, economy, so you can't really isolate one thing. And also there are always such called black swan events that are happening from time to time. We think that we observe everything, and when they happen, we say, yes, it could have been predictable, but still they happen suddenly. So to get back to your question, what kind of events might shape the next year? I'm also monitoring what is happening in Japan recently, the Japan bond yields, right? And also this accumulation of Bitcoin by Japanese corporates. So it's very interesting what is going on, and where can we see this potential catalyst that might shape economy and the crypto market in an unexpected way, isn't it?
Looking at payment again, USDT is definitely one of the big ones, right? And USDC is not that big anymore. Then you have another stable coin, the Maker DAO. It's a DAO, very difficult to comprehend a DAO to start with, but the Maker is quite interesting, and they're also making a UA dollar, somehow a dollar pegged stable coin based out of European regulation, which is actually quite interesting. So I think you will find these stable coins to start with. Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV, and a lot of the others who try to make a payment system, Dash for that matter. Honestly, I don't believe they will become that, standard of payments. So it has to be something that's deriving out of the stablecoin theme. If we have the winner yet, I don't know, but at least we have some great contestants in the USDT and the Maker Foundation, and I'm happy to follow that closely to see who's the winner in that sense. Talking about the winner in general, I think it's difficult to compare Ethereum with Bitcoin because they're solving different problems. Bitcoin is a intelligent gold. Ethereum, it's smart contract. But if you're looking at it as what will drive the biggest value if you are an investor, because we also do trade, I would say that Bitcoin is still a limited resource, 21 million, that's it. The halving is quite clever. Yes, it's difficult to comprehend that you don't have a real owner who is behind it. but the technology and how it's built, I see there is no end to the potential value of the Bitcoin. Ethereum, they will, or maybe Solana, which is a very strong contestant to Ethereum. I think they will definitely drive the theme of smart contracts and what's going to happen in the Web3 space. So they will also be some kind of a winner in that sense. So that's at least my take on it at this point. And it's difficult to say anything about pricing and all that stuff. People love to say, "Hey, what should I buy tomorrow?" Say, I have no clues, and we are not in Coinify giving any advice. But my personal opinion is that if I was I had $100 and I should bet on something and hopefully get more out of it, I will go for the Bitcoin, price wise.
It's been really unfortunate that the regulation of an industry has become so politicized because, and I'm sure a lot of everyone in the industry will agree, it never should have been politicized, and it never should have been a political issue. It never should have been. But the fact that it happened that way, just really unfortunate. I think it opens up a lot of opportunities. It kind of reminds you of back more like 2017, where you remember kind of the ICO boom, and there's so much that happened around that where we saw some interesting innovation come out and a lot of interesting use cases come out. The timing of that, that market wasn't great because we had the bear market right around late 2017, early 2018. But there were so many innovative companies coming out, but also a lot of some not so great companies that took advantage of some folks. So regulation is important, but smart regulation is what we need. And my hope is that in the next 4 years we're going to be able to find some smart regulation, but it still allows for innovation to happen. As a company that's under all kinds of scrutiny by the states, we know that's not going to go away. We have state regulators that want to protect the interests of their constituents, and we definitely understand that, right? It costs us a lot of money and a lot of effort, a lot of time to adhere to those regulations, and there's exams and there's all kinds of things that the states put on us. But ultimately, we know that like some of this is necessary to protect consumer interests. Uh, but ultimately, like you don't want a government saying you can't conduct this innovation or you can't go forward with this innovation because we don't understand it. And basically, I think that's what it boiled down to is they didn't understand how this was going to help consumers. And maybe today it's not as helpful as you might think, but hey, in 12 months and 18 months, as there's adoption and as there's growth, like we've seen a lot of really major innovations happen in the crypto space. I mean, if you would have told me, back in 2017 that stable coins were going to take over as they have today, and I think in 12 months we're going to see stable coins becoming a very common thing amongst all Americans. Like most people wouldn't have believed you, right? But it's been a very short journey to get to here, and I think it's going to be a much shorter journey to get to the next phase. And I think the journey would have been much more arduous had it been still a political issue that, had carried over from the previous administration. So I'm really glad about that. And I'm really looking forward to innovation allowing to be had and to occur within this industry.
The term originates from a 2014 or 2015, I'm not sure exactly, but it's a blog post by Vitalik Buterin, the creator of Ethereum. And he was appealing to an article that somebody wrote at the time and said, whatever you do on Ethereum, we're going to do better on Bitcoin. And he analyzed the aspects of what can be built on Bitcoin, and he called it Bitcoin maximalism. So this is originally what this was about, that whatever happens in altcoins, Bitcoin is going to do better. But I think over time, it became more of an elusive term. Everyone started defining it however they want. To some, it means that you only hold BTC and nothing else. To others, it means that you become part of a cult where you only eat meat and you have to join regular meetings with other people and you have to show off your status with certain items that you're buying. I think right now maximalism has reached a more absurd point where it's a lifestyle and you have to signal your lifestyle by buying all the right products and being friends with the right people and going to the events. And that's how you show basically that you're part of the community. And yes, that's what makes you a maximalist. There's also the toxic maximalist aspect of it, which means you're going to be mean to anyone else who doesn't agree with you, which is something that every cult has to some degree. But in here, it's justified by some virtuous ideas. I don't know how I should present them. Like, you're supposed to tell people that they're idiots and that they should sell all of their altcoins and call them shitcoiners and stuff like that, and think it's for the best, and tell them that over time, you are the one who's holding the better performing asset and they're basically gamblers. There's some merit to this idea, but it doesn't always apply. And to some extent, I think Bitcoin maximalism became a dogma, which sometimes is trying to hide its head in the sand away from market realities. Because if you look at Ethereum or you look at Dogecoin, you're going to see that their market performance very much mirrors that of BTC. Of course, they're more volatile on the way down, and sometimes they also pump harder. But there's some correlation between certain coins, and they have been around for years. And some of them are useful for some use cases. So it's easy to deny and say, yes, we don't need this because Bitcoin is enough. But there's a whole market out there for trying new stuff. And it's good to understand that the intentions behind this market is to mature the technology, to mature proposals that maybe are not ready for Bitcoin. Maybe they will never be ready for Bitcoin, but it's good to try them. And there's another aspect to shitcoinery. That's what maximalist guys will call it. I think shitcoins are very useful for keeping regulators busy with something. Because if there was only Bitcoin, they would focus their attention only on Bitcoin. But if you have SafeMoon and all of these scams, they're gonna keep everyone busy. They're gonna grab the media's attention and they're gonna make Bitcoin look like a saint project or whatever. And they're also gonna keep government agents busy with investigations and everything else. So to some degree, these shitcoins are useful, but it doesn't mean that they're good investments. Usually they pump during the bull markets. They pump harder. Some people talk about 100x, 1000x, whatever, but you never know when you should sell, and that's the problem.
That was a wonderful set of 4 compilations from the Crypto Hipsters podcast over the years, over the past 3 seasons, actually seasons 7 and 8. And the question is, Bitcoin, is it a beauty or is it a beast? Some people think that Bitcoin maximalism is ignorance and arrogance. Some people think it's a wonderful thing. Some people think that Bitcoin should not be used for payments. Others think it's the perfect peer-to-peer network system. How do we use payments? Would you like to use Bitcoin as a payment or as a store of wealth? A lot of people nowadays want to use Bitcoin as just a store of wealth, as digital gold. We're told it's digital gold. So, or can we use it as payment? I have podcasts that talk about how Bitcoin was used as payments and successfully as well. And then, is Bitcoin unbreakable during Black Swan events? Are we currently in a Black Swan event in October 2025 when things have pulled back? There's been a lot of extraction in the market. One of my books, my first few books, Regeneration X, talks about how the boomer generation is a very extractive generation. And with all these institutions coming in with leadership, boomer leadership, are they planning on seeing Bitcoin the way that younger generations see it as the future, as not just a blockchain, not just a store of wealth, not something that can be shorted or long, used to leverage in the market, but as something that can be used for peer-to-peer transactions, something that can be used for multiple of reasons and helping them get out of, we have governments that are not friendly toward the people, helping the people, maintain their livelihoods. So let me know your thoughts. I always ask, let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. I look forward to bringing you the 4th episode of Crypto Hipsters Curtain Calls coming up soon. And all these curtain calls become compilations, become books. And I look forward to bringing them to you. Have a wonderful day, few days. I'll see you the next time.